So in order to follow along just fine, you may need to download a resources folder, which I have attached below in the comments. Find and download these images that are going to help you in terms of reference. So we want to be able to import in a floor plan and look at the front view, side view, and the image, which are going to guide us. And in order to import the floor plan, we might need to prepare for it here in Archicad. So let me go, and under project map here in the navigator pane, you want to go to the worksheet and right click and create a new independent worksheet. And this independent worksheet, I'm going to name it as the floor plan reference. So I will say create, and it will be created, and in here I will bring back my folder here, just pick the image and drop it in here. So now I will minimize that and begin to position this. So I would like to position this as close to this X mark that you can see here, which is the origin, which is going to help us organize our work, that it's not so much spread on the outward. So now once I have it here, now the part is to scale it, because it's an image right now and we don't know whether it's the right scale or not, but we are able to do that because we have dimensions on this thing. So in order to scale it up, we are going to need some lines for reference. So I'm going to pick a line and make it red so you can see it. And I need that line to indicate for us a dimension like this one, which is going to be 3830, and that is millimeters. 3830. If I say okay, and you can see that if I move this across a bit, you can see that we have this thing is supposed to come to that. So it's supposed to be much smaller than it is in the image. And if you prefer using other dimensions, you can do that by going to options, project preferences, and here you can go to dimensions or working units if you want to change the dimensions or the working units. And if you want to work in other dimensions, you have a bunch here depending on where you are. I believe the Americans use the feet and inches. You can choose that. So for now, we will keep it the way it is and we will work like that. So now let's go ahead and scale this up. So in order to scale this up, you can go to edit, resize, reshape, and go resize, or the shortcut right there, which is Control K. And in order to work effectively, you may need to get to know these shortcuts offhand. And I think for that, I have also attached a common shortcuts PDF such that you can get to familiarize yourself with these common shortcuts. So if I click that, you can see this dialog box pops up, and we want to be able to say okay. So the first click that you want to make is supposed to start where you need this point to be. And then let's make the next click. So hold down shift such that you have you can see it's in a single line. So we put where we want this drawing to stop. So we want it to stop here, and the final click is going to scale this thing down to where we have our red pen, and here is where it is, and ta-da, there you are. So now we have rescaled this thing. Now we can say drag this to here, to exactly that point, by right clicking and say move and drag, or the shortcut right there. So you may need to familiarize with most of these shortcuts that will make your life much easier. Control D, so click that and bring this and put it in here. So now we have something to work with here, and we can delete. We want to go back to the ground floor and show that floor plan right here. So how do we do that? We want to do that by enabling trace reference, which is on the standard toolbar. So when we click that, we should be able to see it, but we can't see a thing, and that's because let's bring the palette, which is here. So on the drop down, click trace reference, and it will be this will be the dialog box we are going to work with. And in here, we want to browse for the trace reference. So we want to tell Archicad that we are looking for this W01 floor plan reference that we created. When we say OK, it's supposed to show, but it's not showing. And that's because now we need to go here. If we click on this arrow and look for figure, because by default figures are turned off. So now when we click OK, you can see that it is right there. And now we can, adjust what it looks like. We can change the color to something like that. Maybe that red is good. You can also reduce the opacity depending on what you want to be able to see through that. So that's it about the trace reference. So now we are able to trace over this. So okay, so now we can get rid of this, and now let's also reduce this workspace. So I'm going to Control D to bring this closer here, Control D, bring this closer here again, such that we create a smaller workspace of sorts that we shall start to work from. And if you wanted to also change the way they look, if we go to the settings by Control T, or by clicking on this icon here, when they are selected, we can get that dialog box, or we can get the same dialog box by double clicking on that icon, which is the elevation icon. So now when you double click, you can still get the same thing. So under the marker symbol text and text, you can get this default, which is a triangle, and we can make it what we want. And in this case, I like how this looks. It's a bit minimalist. And as well, you can adjust this thing by using the pet palette, which comes in, and you select the stretch in order to stretch this to fit whatever shape or size or form that you prefer to see in your drawings. So that's a first step that you can take in order to create your own sort of kind of work environment.